Hello, my name is Christina. I am a dentist from Wichita, Kansas. In 1994, I suffered a head injury. When I regained consciousness, I had a headache. No one was surprised about that. I'm sure none of you are surprised about that. When you have a head injury, you might wake up with a headache. I did. The problem was, the headache didn't go away. I began to see neurologists. Finally, one said, "Good news, we know what's wrong with you." And he said, "You're really lucky that this happened to you this year and not a year or two ago." And I said, well, how can that be? And he said, well, up until a year ago, what you've got wrong with you, we didn't know about. And we would see people like you who'd had head injuries, somewhat serious but not debilitating. You appear to be fine, but people like you would continue to complain about having a headache all of the time, every minute of every day. And he said, honestly, we thought people like you were just nuts. And he said, I'm happy to tell you I now know what's wrong with you. He said the dura mater was torn. And the dura is a fibrous covering over the brain and the spinal cord. He said that tear caused inflammation. And that's why you have a headache all of the time. And I said, well, okay, that's good news. What's the bad news? And he said, we don't know what to do about it. I said, well, how can that be? You know what's wrong, and as being a dentist, I thought, we got to find a solution here. He said, no, we do know that you'll probably have a headache for a year, or maybe 5 years, or maybe 10 years. And then, of course, there's a small percentage of the people that the headache never goes away. And I said, well, how do I get in that percentage where it only goes away in a year? And he said, we just don't know. And I said, and you have no treatment? And he said, no, don't have a thing. So I visited with other neurologists, and they said, oh, yeah, we know all about that, and no, we don't know how to fix that. But you might take this pill for epilepsy. And I'd say, well, doctor, I don't have epilepsy. And he'd say, well, we know that, but we found that epileptics sometimes have fewer headaches on this particular medication. So it's called off-label usage, and you just might want to give it a shot. So, of course, I was desperate, and I did, and I would get all of the side effects, and I would still have a headache. So my life became a series of every 2 years I would visit a neurologist, and I would explain my problem. Oh, yeah, we know all about that. No, don't have any solutions. But there's this new medication. And we found it really works for problem X, but some of those people have fewer headaches. So why don't you give that a shot? And none of them worked. I also tried some what is known as alternative medicine. I tried acupuncture, tried cupping, tried massage. I had one doctor who said, if you exercise enough, you might make enough endorphins to get rid of the pain. So I even went and did that. Nothing worked. And the years went by, and I kept thinking, I'm going to do this. It's going to go away. I'm going to be one of those lucky people. It just goes away. And after 10 years, I thought, no, I'm not going to be one of those lucky people. I'm just going to have a headache until I die. But I always just kind of kept my ear to the ground and hoped that somewhere, someplace, I might find a solution. And earlier this year, I was reading a blog. And there was one line in the blog, and this man said, and I'm going to go visit a friend at a vegetarian health clinic. I didn't think that was going to help my headache, didn't even cross my mind, but I thought, well, I'm curious. I wonder what happens at a vegetarian health clinic. Well, thank God he had put the website right next to his one sentence, and it happened to be the website for True North. So I just clicked on it. And as I got to reading all of the health problems that they deal with and have some success with, I thought, that's inflammation mediated. That's inflammation mediated. That's inflammation mediated. And all the neurologists had said, the reason you have a headache is because your dura is inflamed. And I thought, I wonder if there's any chance these folks could help me. So I called, and the first person I had a phone consultation was Dr. Michael Clapper. And we had a very good talk, and I must admit he wasn't very positive. But at the end of the phone conversation, he said, is there any chance that you have a current MRI? And I said, well, as a matter of fact, I do. And he said, well, why don't you send that to me, and then we'll talk. So I sent it, scheduled a second phone consult, and I'll never forget what he said. He started the phone conversation by saying, quote, wow, you're not nearly as screwed up as I thought you'd be. And I thought, ooh, point in my favor, you know, maybe something good's going to happen. So we had another good conversation, and I had two questions. I said, have you ever treated a patient with this particular problem? He said, no, never have. I said, well, do you think this fasting thing would work? He said, have no idea. But he said, I think you might have a chance. So I thought, So I had already read every page on the True North website. I went back and read every page on the True North website again. I ordered the Pleasure Trap book written by Dr. Doug Lisle and by Dr. Alan Goldhamer. And I specifically focused on the chapter on fasting, although I would recommend the whole book to anyone. And I thought, I then began to ask everybody I knew if they'd ever water fasted, if they knew anything about fasting. And everybody said, no, don't know anything about that, never done that. I had one friend who said, my sister juice fasted once for a few days. She kind of liked it. That's the only information I had. I spoke with my primary care physician, and he said, honestly, I don't know anything about water fasting. And we had a conversation, and he ended it by saying, well, if you go do it, let me know how it goes. And I thank him for that, because he wasn't positive, but then again, he wasn't negative. He just said, I don't know. So then I thought, well, I've got to think about this some more. So I called and made a phone consultation appointment with Dr. Goldhamer. We had a great conversation. Again, my two questions. Have you ever treated anybody with this particular problem? No. And as you get to know Dr. Goldhamer, he's bluntly honest. I said, do you think this will work? He said, I don't know. But he said, I think you might have a chance. So after our conversation, I knew if I was going to do this, I would have to commit fully. So I completely changed my life, and I came to True North. And I ate the True North way for 6 days to prepare my body for a water fast. And then I started a water fast. Nothing happened, and I thought, not surprised. Because when I came to True North, I thought, should I do this, should I not? And I thought, I don't want to be 80 years old someday thinking, gee, I wonder what would have happened if I'd gone to True North. I didn't want to be 80 or 90, because I've got good genes in my family, and still have a headache. And I thought, well, let's look at that question the other way. What's the worst thing that's going to happen to me at True North? And I thought, well, the worst outcome would be I leave and I still have a headache. But at least I'd have cleaner arteries. So I thought, I'm going. So I'm fasting along there. Nothing's happening. Getting treatment from some of the other doctors at True North. Still got the headache every day. And on day 19, I woke up and I thought, oh my word, something's wrong. And it was scary, because something was wrong, and I did not know what it was. And it took me about 60 seconds, I think, to realize not that something was wrong, something was different. I didn't have a headache. Excuse me, I get a little emotional. After 16 years, I had a pain-free 5 minutes. And then the headache came back. But I was so excited, and I tell you, I think it was the most exciting day, because I thought, this is treatable. And I remember I shared it with the doctors, and Dr. Goldhamer said, It's amenable to treatment. It's amenable to treatment. He was as excited as I was. I continued the water fast, and every morning I would wake up and think, is it still gone a little bit? And every morning I had a little more pain-free time. Little more pain-free time. And just as exciting to me was the rest of the day I still had a headache, but it was not as intense. When I got to True North, they asked me, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your pain? You may have been asked that question by doctors before. And I said, it runs a 6 to 8 all of the time. And occasionally I have these stabbing pains that just absolutely stop me in my tracks. It got to the point I would have time in the morning with no headache, and then in the afternoon it was down to a 2 or even a 1. That was just manna from heaven for me. So I continued to fast, and when I got to the True North, another question they asked me is, how long do you intend to fast? And I was so new to fasting, I didn't know that you could just pick a certain number of days to fast. I thought you just fasted till you got better. Who knew? So I said, well, I'm going to fast till the headache is gone, or I'm going to fast until I just physically cannot fast anymore, or I'm going to fast until all of you doctors tell me, Christina, you must stop for your own physical safety. So I just kept fasting. Day 41, no headache all day long. And that night I thought, man, I really want to stop doing this. Because from day 33 on, I did not leave the apartment. I was just tired to my bones. I mean, I've been ill, I've had injuries. I had never felt so tired in all my born days. And I thought, you're weaseling out. Because before I got to True North, I thought, if this headache goes away, I'm going to fast 5 more days, because I want to make sure I bury that sucker. Had a big conversation with myself that night, and I thought, no, I'm ready to stop. So that was 2 conditions, no headache, and I was ready to stop. Very interesting, the doctors came in the next morning, went through their exam, and they said, Christina, time for you to stop. And that was the 3rd one. I didn't have a headache. I was ready to stop, and the doctors told me it was time. That was on June 27th. On June 28th, I started the refeeding program at True North. I have been refeeding at True North, following their prescribed system since that time. And I am happy to say I'm standing in front of you, a woman without a headache.